author Yusuf Daniels is back. The last time he came onto the show, he made a shocking revelation to me, and that was that his first book was inspired by toilet paper. Now look, I don't dispute that there are other publications, and you know who you are, in South Africa, that's also inspired by toilet paper, but this was perhaps a different toilet paper and a different inspiration. So Yusuf's done a new book, and I'm trying to find out if it's not toilet paper this time. Could it be hand sanitizer by any chance, Yusuf? No.
Faizal, I carry my inspiration. The difference between myself and these other authors, I carry my inspiration with me everywhere I go.
Well, it's safe.
You see, so
Well, it's a safe thing to do.
just in case something else comes up also, dan gebruik ek my inspiration sommer vir iets anders. Jy weet mos how it works, right?
So today I really just want to go into that inspiration and touch a bit on the book and find out how things are going, because the first time you came out you were like a new author, and this time now you are an author, and I know that you were best-selling on the first one, but now you've got to get to acclaimed author, and so there's all of these little things you've got to get through, but that happens with time. But I want to start at a very specific spot,
Right.
because there's one shocking part and the revelation that you made in the book, and I'm so dying to ask that part. So I want to start there. So I'm going back to front a bit, but I just need to ask this question: how close
Go
were
for it.
you to the guy by the name of Fred? How close were you?
Fred and myself are still actually very good friends today. I tell you why we were so close. I mean, you saw in the story that we shared Speedo.
No. So that's what I wanted to
Now,
get to.
President-
So I'm a bit worried about that part,
That's it.
because you, in the same line that you mentioned that, the same line that you mentioned that you say that you were tight and that you shared speedos, and look, in the time of Corona that could be a dangerous thing to do, but it might have been okay back in the day.
You know,
Okay, but who shares underwear? I mean, that's something really bizarre.
Faisal, you say, clearly you haven't had a very close friend like that. It's not about the sharing of the underwear. It wasn't underwear, it was a Speedo. Okay? So difference. The Speedo, you go into salt water, you come out and it's clean. So it's okay to share.
Even
A
if
Frankie and a panty you can't share. That's annoying.
even if they pee in it in the water, it's fine. It's still cleaned out.
Salt water must wash it away Lekka mos after you pee in the water. That's fine, it's alright.
Exactly. So
Fred and I were that.
okay, so I just wanted to get that part. So I need to start this interview with the inspiration part, but that part bothered me in actual fact. I had a bit of sleepless nights about that, because I know you, this guy with children and all of that, and I thought, was there something I was missing on the last interview? Okay, but you cleared it up. Okay, so we're good to go. So now, what inspired this one?
Let's go.
Because I know you're carrying your toilet paper with you, and I know you find that as an inspiration, but what inspired this particular one?
Okay, Faisal, you know, after this book one came out, I got so many, I was inundated with messages in my inbox and private messages and WhatsApps, just from people telling me how Lekka this book made them feel. It took them back to the 70s and the 80s, and you know, I had someone saying that they laughed and cried at the same time because it was such good memories. But you know, one of the biggest things that inspired me and was a huge inspiration was this one woman. There was this one woman, I'll never forget this. Probably for the rest of my life, I'll remember this. You know what she said to me? She said to me, her daughter passed away a few years ago. And she then found out that her daughter died due to negligence from the hospital. And she just opened up to me and she said, Yusuf, I had to go to court. She's in court for the last year. She's been in court. She said every time she goes to court, she would cry. You know, we all deal differently with things. Nobody can tell you how and when to deal with things. And you know what she said to me? She said to me the only thing that got her through a court session, she would scratch in her bag, take out the living colored book, open up a story, read, laugh, and then she's okay again. Now you get more inspired by a story like that, you know?
Of course.
So that was the other thing. But you know what was the inspiration by it? 6 rand 60 cents. Nou vra vir my wat is 6 rand 60 cents? Please ask me.
Now, I was about to ask you what 660 apart from a Speedo back in the day.
Okay, I got paid R6.60 per book on my last book by the
Six
publisher.
rand 60 cents.
R6.60.
It's not a.
Faisal. So that to me, that was big inspiration right there.
Well, that's not a lot of money, but then that obviously indicates to me that people do things, and you probably do things for different reasons. Some people have a commercial reason for everything. I know the bills need to be paid, but it talks to the fact that you maybe enjoy more what you're doing than what you're making from it right now.
No. So don't get me wrong. I do enjoy what I'm doing, but at the end of the day, if you see you've put in so much effort, and I've marketed this book 90%. I did the marketing 90, and you'll find out that marketing is one of the most tiring things. That is probably one of your most key things in selling a book. Writing a book, Faisal, it's for me, and I think for most people, it's not that difficult to write the book. I think that is the easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think that's the easier part. But getting yourself out there, marketing, selling, those are your challenges. Interviews, field interviews, radio interviews, book signings, it kills you. But R6.60, jy kan nie as 'n bubblegum en 'n pakkie chips. Jy kan nie as 'n pakkie chips koop van R6.60, so that didn't work for me. Eh? So that inspired me to do my own thing.
I see.
Which I'm self-publishing, by the way.
Okay, so then you went to self-publishing, but that's amazing because it also talks to me that you know what, it speaks of experience. You could have had all these other experiences that you talk about in the book, but you had no experience as an author. So you go through that first process of writing and publishing, then you learn a couple of things and you start changing and augmenting what you're doing, and that speaks of growth. So thumbs up to that. That's obviously growth. And who knows, one of the days you could be publishing one of my books or one of my co-written books with you, when we might be calling it hairstyles. I don't know, because I see people talking about our hairstyles. What are they saying? Yeah, listen here.
Yeah. You mustn't say stuff like this. You know what? I get ideas very quickly and I turn it into something. So hairstyles. That is a quite cover. I can see something a bestseller.
So where did this come from on social media? I saw some people talking about myself and you 2 nights ago about our hair, and we're going to be chatting about that on TV. And then I found something in your book that said that you polished your shoes before the job that you went for, the whole true one. You polished your shoes, you put on the diamond socks of yours and all of that. And you said that you then spat on your shoes. We can talk about that. That's not a good practice in 2020 with Corona around. But you said something interesting. You said something to the effect that your hair was in top form, and I quote, your hair was in top form. So any of the people that's backing you on the hair debate with me, your hair was in top form. Whether it still is another question.
Hold it. I've never done this before anyway. I'm going to take all that gel out and make it in my car, and I'm going to try and get the Faizal say it look proper. Hold it.
Is that even real? Okay, so it is real.
Is it working?
It's working, Yusuf, but your hair is fairly short for lockdown. You haven't been observing to the lockdown regulations. I can't go to the stylist. What are you doing? Using a knife in the kitchen?
Yeah. I'm multi-skilled. I know how to do a fade.
Now that's...
anything.
That is the key word that you mentioned now. When I went through the book, you're talking about multi-skilled. I didn't realize all the things that you did before this. I mean, flight attendant, like really? Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about that part.
Those were my traveling days.
No, tell me about that, because, back in the day it was a glamorous thing. I'm not sure how glamorous it is right now. I mean, some planes can't even start up, they're backfiring at the moment. But the point is that back in the day it was this glamour thing, like people wanted to be on those planes. And I know it's back in the day for you, because in another part of the book you talk about a bob card. Now, bob cards died 500 years ago, those bluish cards. Bob, yes, correct. Yeah. So look, you're talking about a really ancient history. But the point is, tell us about that part, the flight attendant part, because you remind me of this guy, what's it called? Catch Me If You Can. Leonardo DiCaprio's movie.
Oh.
and where he's all kitted up
Just
and
like-
dressed up. And when I saw that picture of you on the cover, I thought, here we go.
It was just like that. By the way, we would, you dress up, obviously your suit, your tie, your wings and everything, and hair's on point, not like now, it's a bit both nose, like a bit of young. But you dress up, you get your pull along, and you arrive, and this is part of one of the stories, I'm sure you read it, and you arrive in New York City, in Manhattan, right, JFK Airport, and when you strut through that airport, now you've got 18 people in a row walking. The women are dressed to the T. Jay is geslaan. You're pulling that pull along behind you. You know how people stare
I
at
know.
us because we all smartly dressed, and it's almost like they envy you because it was something to be envied of. It was an amazing job, and I've learned so much, and I saw the world at someone else's expense. I was all over the world. I've skied in the Alps. I've jet skied in the Atlantic, Indian, early oceans you can think of. It was an amazing, amazing, amazing time. Lekka, and there's 5 airline stories in the book, by the way. So, there's enough that I share there.
You know what's amazing is that when I asked you about the inspiration behind the book, it's only dawned on me now that when I ask this question about inspiration, we sometimes think inspiration is perhaps this one epiphany moment that creates a project. But when you look through the book, the inspiration is actually your view on incidences and occurrences in your own life's diary. And that's the bottom line of the inspiration, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm right about this.
No. I think you're spot on, Faizal. The problem I find today is people are scared to write and tell their stories. Why? Because they're told there's a certain way you need to write and tell that story. There is no way to write a story. You write your story. And you know why? I get a lot of messages where people say, I feel like I was in your story. I feel like I was you when you told that story. You know why? Because I take myself back into that story or that time. I basically transport myself into that, and I just write what I see in front of me. Don't be scared to write. Write what you see and feel. There's no specific way. That's why there's editors. They'll edit the story for you. I don't think I'm the best writer. I think I'm a decent storyteller. Put your story on paper, put it down, write it down, and you know what? The rest will take its course. Faizal, where do you think are the best stories? Where do you think are the best stories?
I don't know, I'm a bit of a
Where do you
realist.
find the best stories?
I don't know, in people's biographies, in my opinion.
Okay, now you know where the best stories are right now, in the graveyard. In the kubus. Tell you why. Because people die with their stories, especially our community. They do not tell their stories. They take their stories to their graves, and our kids and grandkids will never really know how great or whatever happened back in those days. So I want to change that, and I want to encourage people to come out and tell their stories. And that is why I am starting the publishing company, and that is why you and I will, inshallah, also write that story.
I'll take you up on that offer. You know, there's something rather interesting now, and something's dawned on me that while you said this about the cemetery. As you know, I lost my mother not too long ago. It feels like yesterday morning. I relive this every single day. You probably noticed I haven't dealt with it like most people have been going through a very tough time. It's an adaptation. Yeah, but what you said was defining because I visit my mother every 3 days, 2 to 3 days, since she passed away. So I spend a lot of time in the cemetery because I found peace in the cemetery. I found peace walking along the path to my mother under the trees. And I sit there sometime on Saturday. I'm back doing my honors degree at the moment. And I sometimes sit with my notes there for 2 hours at a time, reading my notes there. Because I used to sit on the bed with her and study while she was on the bed. So I still sit by at her side. And you know what I found was exactly what you said. And that was, I walk past people's tombstones, and it's a habit of mine to look at the dates. And I look, 1930 to 1980. And I always wonder behind each tombstone, there's a complete list of children, uncles, aunties, and incidences that has happened. It's not just the tombstone. So I've always had this thought in my head, and now you brought it up. And you're 100% right. You're just 100% right.
No, and you're right. I agree. It's just sad. It's just sad that we and you guys all, we have the best stories. You know what saddens me is when I walk into an exclusive books and I see authors white, black, white, 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 black, white, white, black, one colored maybe we're lucky, one Indian we're lucky. Our people, I find, tell the best stories, but why are our stories not out there? Why? Are we too scared to write the stories? I'm going to try and change this whole thing about we have to write or speak a certain way to become a bestseller. Look at me, Faizal. I'm from Mitchell's Plain, and that cover that you see there, the title, Yusuf Living Lekka from Mitchell's Plain to Aeroplane. There's a message in that title, as it is your circumstances, I believe, should never dictate your outcome or your destination. Faizal, sad to say, I see that a Chromebooker after you, I hardly read. So you know what I'm saying? There's no way or prerequisite for you to become a good writer or a good thing at anything. It's effort, it's time. Firstly, it's your creator. That's the person that guides you, I believe. Then all the other things will fall into place.
We share a parallel on something in our different areas of work that we do. I noticed when I squeezed through something this morning, I saw the colloquial words that you were using. Summa, for example, right? So most authors or orthodox authors are going to say, what on earth or what the hell is that? But it's you being you. I make mistakes on TV. I get people's names wrong, and then the editor asks me, should I take it out? And I tell him, no, it's fine, leave it, because all I did was, oh, sorry, I got the name wrong, I got the date wrong, but by the way, this, and do you not think it's about you reaching your authentic self? And by reaching your authentic self, that is what your audience and your readers want to see.
100% spot on. You couldn't have said it better. And I think people overthink too much when they write and when they talk. And that's when authenticity don't come up. When you overthink, or you want to sound like someone else, or you want to speak like someone else, or write like someone else. But like you're very natural, you yourself, and this is why people relate to you. And this is why they buy into you. Because they know there's no fakeness about you. Fake is gone. It's it. It's gone. There's now time to be real. Just be yourself.
I always use the example of the moon landing when television just started and they did the moon landing. And I said, well, some people said it was done in studio, but we're done with the moon landing now. So we need to get real about what we're doing. And it's only through that realness that we can go forward into what we need to do. Yusuf, I understand where and what inspires you. It is, in my opinion, it is you that inspires you in terms of you have connected with yourself. And when you do that, that's when the best of you comes out. And I think people relate to you as an author because it's a form of escapism. People need to escape. Right now, they can't even get out of their homes and they need to escape. And through your reading, they're able to escape. You mentioned to me that there was a couple of people that inspired you and support you in what you do. And there was one very strange character that was eating a pie somewhere on a field that purports to be a sportsman but eating some unhealthy piece of rubbish. Who was that?
How are you an example to the children? This is Zydepolis, right? I gotta say Zydepolis. Yes. To make sure he hears. I thought this guy is a referee, wannabe referee. I referee now for the last 10 years. He's refereeing under 12s. They've never pushed him up to under 14. I'll tell you why. Because what example are you to the kids if you eat a pie, a big jack pie halfway through the game, firstly? And secondly, Faizal, I've seen him referee. And I've seen an under 12 rugby player grab his hand and say, Uncle, come as I help you to get to the ball. No, Jack, I must really referee try na die ball. So, I don't know what's up with this guy. But hy gooi daar so op Facebook, it's criticizing me and my hare and toilet and allemaal die goeders. But that's alright, I leave it. Yeah. But Faizal, actually, no. He actually is a quiet photographer. Zydepolis actually took the front cover picture. And hy sloffie said, hy gaan inspire. Hy het gesê, hou die sloffies aan.
I saw that.
And I kept it on. He's actually a quiet. But I see so quiet referee.
No, but everybody's got their place. But what's important about what you're telling me is that you mentioned a couple of components about putting the book together. So you said we spoke about the authentic self, and then we spoke about you just being who you need to be and what inspires the stories in terms of your own life stories that inspires the chapters in the book. But there was another component to all of that. That's you. But around you are people that put things together for you and assist you to get to the next place in your life. And I want you perhaps to use a minute or two to pay tribute to those people, because sometimes, even myself, my mother's gone and I sometimes sit here really crying it out, thinking how she had sacrificed everything to make sure I do what I do. She wanted to see me do what I do, and there's people around you that want to see you do what you do. And we need to pay tribute to them, not when they're gone, but when they are here.
Absolutely. So Faisal, firstly, you say mothers, and you know, alhamdulillah, I'm fortunate to say I have my mother. I've seen what you've been going through, and I appreciate my mother. Every time I watch you talk about your mother, I appreciate my mother more. And these are all eye openers, you know. And my mother, I tell you what, my mother is most probably one of the most key figures in my life, because she would make dua for me every time she goes on her musla. She always told me, Faisal, I had 7 years where I had, you don't even want to know what I've been through for 7 years. But that's another story for another day, maybe another book. And she would say to me every time I saw her, now I see her 3-4 times a week, sometimes more. Yusuf, you will see one day, my boy. I make dua for you every day. One day you will see things coming where you will never imagine it to come from. And I mean, she said that on and on. I thought to myself, your mommy, bandaran. And and you know what, Faisal? It's because of her du'as that I am where I am right now and able to do what I'm doing. So my mother's one. Natasha Fakir, this woman basically is the woman who put me on the map. She basically sent the stories off on the first book, remember. This woman's got a full-time job and she still does everything else for me. I'm actually Skyping from my house because she set up Skype for me. It's a bit more technically challenged. Yeah. So, Natasha Fakir, a woman in a million. I think out of every million people, you'll find one of her. So I'm fortunate to have found this one person. Then there's my kids. You know what? Just being around them inspires me. They're just amazing kids. And they're just always around and you know, inspire me with different things. Just watching them inspire me. And then, my ex-wife, I have a very good relationship with my ex-wife. People find it very difficult and hard to believe. But she's also very supportive, you know, and she'll help out where she can with the kids if I must do stuff. And regarding the book, it's been very tight with the book now. Self-publishing is hard work, but it's rewarding work. And then, you know what? My Facebook followers and friends. Oh my gosh. If it wasn't for them and the community mostly, I wouldn't have sold or been a bestseller within 3 months. And you know what? The same community and my Facebook friends are going to be the cause that bestseller status is going to happen sooner than 3 months, inshallah.
Indeed, and I have all the hope.
Like you as well.
And I know that that's going to happen, and I know that you're going to go to the next place, because it's an exciting journey, and I know when someone's going to go to the next place through one thing, and I pick that up in you, and that is when people live what they do and they enjoy what they do. You're really not working a day in your life. You're just being who you are. Like, it's the same thing with me. People say, but don't you get tired? You're all over the show and all this content and all this research. And I say, no, but that's me. That's what I do. I'm just being me. And Yusuf Daniels is just being Yusuf Daniels. And that's what takes you to the next space in your life. Yusuf, in conclusion, a lot is going on. We both live in Wuhan province at the moment, as you know. Okay, so we have we've got the province that is just, I don't know if we misbehaving, I don't know what's going on, but the coronavirus is going. What's your thoughts in conclusion, and what's your message to Cape Townians? Because Cape Townians are out and about like nothing's going on.
I sometimes put on my mask, I get in my car and I drive to the shop or whatever. Sometimes I've also delivered a few things in certain areas. And Faisal, some areas it doesn't even look like Corona came through. There's anti-Rona made a turn there. There's next anti-Rona, Dani. Allah, hang out 20 people on the corner, hanging out. I think to myself, nah, man. But you know what? This is only here by us. But they sell great. Rona is of no significance here where we come from. Hulle gaat uit soos normal, and it's actually very scary because it's a real thing. Where it came from and who started it, yeah, it's very debatable. We know that, but where we are now, it's a serious thing. It's a dangerous thing. So, maar die daltjies gaat rond, and I stay in my house. I go to my kids. I come back, and I go to the shop and come back. Really, but I stay inside, stay indoors. You know, flatten the curve. Ya Allah, we need to get out of this so we can carry on our normal lives. And ons is al klaar. We're going to stay on level 4 now. Cape Town, I believe.
Correct, yes. Yusuf, thank you for that. I look forward to having you back on the show soon when you've got something else going on. And I want to go through that and see how you're going to inspire me. I always wanted to be an airline pilot when I was younger. But after seeing you with those sloffies on at the airport, I just changed my mind. Because if my flight crew looked like that, I would have said, no, man. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I see this other guy sent us a picture on Facebook, Zaid, with you hanging on your bag, looking very hectic there. Yeah.
It was a hard flight. It was a tough flight. That's tired, and my shoes were dragging me. So I put on sloffies, and then we took this picture, and then that became a cover photo. So that guy needs to get over himself and go referee his games, please.
Yeah, and I'm a bit worried about something, and that is that if the next time that I see you, I'm just hoping, and maybe the challenge is that you grow your hair to my length. And that's the challenge to the audience. It will move. It will move at some point.
Faizal, the book is out 1st of June, inshallah. Exclusive books and all bookstores. There will be an ebook as well. So I will share all of that on my Living Lekka page so people can like the Living Lekka page. It is, I've sent you a few stories. Those are the mildest stories I sent you. It is going to be a crazy ride. As Jay Lake laugh, and if you like cringing a bitchy, so bitchy, this is that book. You've never seen anything like this. I can tell you now, I've never seen anybody write a book like this. It is just 30 stories, 22 of them, and you will never, ever, ever look at me the same after this book. I'm going to leave it right there.
Thank you, Yusuf, and thank you for joining us. And I have the same feeling. Whether I'm going to look at Yusuf again after that Speedo story is another thing. And after the show, watch my social media. I've got some other ideas about the Speedo, but it's not for children. Until next time, goodbye.
Lekka.